Okay. Does everyone have to do that? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth ordinary meeting of 2025. I'll open by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Butchulla people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. For our opening prayer, let us pray together. Each of us, according to our individual beliefs, grant to this council wisdom, understanding, and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of the community. There are no apologies or leave of absence. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest? No. Mayoral minutes. There are no mayoral minutes. Item 5, confirmation of minutes from March. Is there a mover that they be? Councillor Govers. Is there a seconder? Councillor Farage. All those in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Will the special minutes come to the next meeting? Yeah. Item 6.1, open resolutions register, pages 199 to 206. Is there a mover that we receive and note? Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Chapman. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 7.1, community presentations. There were, in fact, no community presentations today. Nobody was booked in. Petitions. Are there any petitions? Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a petition here from the Chief Petitioner is Ronald Miller, and the subject of petition is for a request for effective drainage of Hine, Queen, Palace and Warrie Streets in Maryborough. I'd like to table this petition and give it to the CEO who's further.
So the resolution is that the petition be received and referred to a committee or officer for consideration and a report. Is there a seconder? Councillor Phil Truscott. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Are there any further petitions? Councillor Truscott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a petition from Chief Petitioner Leonard Cam regarding a request for upgrade of Alice and Russell Streets for resident safety with 48 signatures on it, and I'll move that the petition be received. Is
there a seconder? Councillor Farage. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Are there any further petitions? Item 10.1, the Traffic Advisory Committee meeting minutes for the 4th of February, pages 217 to 222. Councillor Chapman, are you moving this? Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Whelan. Any speakers? Councillor Chapman.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just point out that I'm actually the chair of this committee, and but I'd like to acknowledge the work that our traffic engineer, Damien Beattie, is doing with. Since he's come here over the last about 3 or 4 years, he's been exceptional with his work, but his staff that's working underneath him with how they negotiate with the state governments and different departments. So I'd just really like to adhere to that through the Director of Infrastructure Services back to them. Thank you.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.2, Water and Waste Services Advisory Committee meeting minutes, page 223. Councillor O'Keefe is moving this. Seconded Councillor Chapman. Any speakers or questions? Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to recommend that Council receive and note the minutes of the Water and Waste Services Advisory Committee meeting held on the 21st of March 2025 as detailed in Attachment 1.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to just note in the report the wonderful response that the Water and Waste team had during our ex-tropical cyclone Alfred event, and the fantastic job that they did going above and beyond, taking extra time out of their time and working through the weekend 7 days a week to get the efforts cleaned up for the area. So yeah, thank you.
They did a great job. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.3, informal meetings, records of matters discussed, page 228 to 249. Moved Councillor Farage, seconded Councillor Paul Truscott. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.1, the councillor meeting attendance for May 2025. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Govers. seconded Councillor Phil Truscott. Any speakers or questions? Councillor Phil Truscott.
There is a error on page 252. I don't know why. Sorry, on page 251. A proposal. I don't know what it's there for, but I would just like to refer people to page 250, which is the officer's recommendation, which would be the right one, even though I don't vote for it. Because I think councillors should make their own decision whether to go to these meetings or not. Thank you.
Yeah, because so the proposal under item 5 is exactly the same. It's in the recommendation, is it not? No. Oh, what's the difference?
5th of May was incidentally
5th of May.
included.
Oh, so and that's not in the motion that you've seconded. Okay. Any speakers or questions? Councillor Cosgrove.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I just wanted to flag with councillors. I know that Councillor Phil Truscott always votes against this for his own reasons, but I'm sort of starting to take the view that potentially it would be better if councillors were more free on one of the Mondays, whether it's before the agenda forum or the council meeting itself, because obviously this meeting is the primary business of what we do as councillors. And I have felt as if sometimes one of those Monday meetings, if we dropped it, it would unencumber councillors for spending time on what we really importantly have to spend time on, which is making sure we're across our agendas and the items that we're working on. I'm not going to move an amendment or vote against this today, and that's simply because I know how far in advance those workshops are booked. But just raising it now for both the executive leadership team and councillors to have a think about whether that's something they think would be beneficial. This agenda today, no issue, but sometimes we have agendas where I feel like the Monday before the meeting, it would be time better spent in that work day to actually be making sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's in terms of the meeting. So just that's more for information, but speaking to this specific motion, I'll be supporting it today.
And it is probably timely that we do reconsider our processes. We're a year into this council and we're still using the format that we introduced in the previous council. It could be that the Monday of a council meeting week, the CEO and the directors make sure they block out the morning and that people can question them, or people can freely peruse the agenda outside of having a meeting where we're talking about totally different stuff to what we're dealing with then 72 hours later. So yeah, you're right. It is timely that we do reconsider whether the concept forums and the structure of the meetings works for us. Yeah, Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're talking about a proposal that is flagged now, I'd also like to support that initiative, but also ask to consider maybe the Monday of the agenda forum as well, rather than the Monday before the ordinary meeting. Maybe we need to consider that as one of the days to drop.
So dropping 2 Mondays.
No, dropping one.
Yeah,
but being the
agenda
one
forum
before
week.
the agenda forum, being that that's the one where we ask questions of the organisation on policy.
That ends
Just
up,
something to consider.
Yeah, that ends up being 10 days before the actual council meeting. Maybe, do you have any view on that? About what?
I'm happy to discuss that when we catch up next, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Yeah, very good. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried 9-2. Item 11.2.2, the operational plan progress report, January to March, pages 253 to 280. Councillor O'Keefe is moving this. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cosgrove. Any speakers or questions? Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move that Council receive and note the 24-25 operational plan progress report for the period ending 31st of March 2025.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.3, appointment of Deputy Mayor, pages 281 to 283. I'll move that Council 1 declares the position of Deputy Mayor vacant, 2 delegates the Chair to call for nominations to the position of Deputy Mayor, And 3, delegates the Chief Executive Officer as returning officer and the Director, Organisational Services as observer to conduct a secret ballot for the position of Deputy Mayor, with the preferred candidate being selected by a majority of councillors using a preferential voting system. Seconded, Councillor Paul Truscott. Any speakers or questions? Are there any questions about the process if we follow this? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. And I'll move that standing orders be suspended to call for nominations and conduct a secret ballot. We got to do this now, don't we? Yeah. To determine the preferred nominee for the position of Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Do you want me to hand over to you as returning officer? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Are there any nominations? Councillor Govers.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I nominate Councillor Sarah Farage.
Are there any further nominations? Councillor Chapman?
Mr Mayor. I would actually like to nominate Councillor Daniel Sanderson.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Councillor Farage, do you accept the nomination?
Yes. Yes, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sanderson, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. So are there any, are there any further nominations? Okay. As I indicated the other day, the process I believe will be best is if we have a up to 3 minute speech from each of the nominees. I'll now hand over to the returning officer to conduct.
Also let them do their speech and then I'll...
Yeah, I thought you could do this. Okay, all right. Okay, the first candidate to be nominated was Councillor Farage, so I'll call upon Councillor Farage to go first.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to sincerely thank my colleague Paul Truscott for his invaluable contribution to our region over the past year as Deputy Mayor. Paul has been an incredible support to me in my first year as a councillor, and his leadership in guiding thoughtful and at times passionate debate in the chamber has been truly appreciated. It would be an honour to serve in this role and to work alongside each of you to deliver formidable leadership, transparent governance and dedicated advocacy for our wonderful community. I bring positive energy, commitment and a future-focused mindset balanced with a deep respect for the work already done and the valuable contribution and experience each of you bring to this team. Over the past year, I've done my best to step up, chairing meetings when needed, listening actively and working to foster respectful, productive and community-focused discussions around this table. I approach this role with the goal of building experience and trust, recognising how vital it is for a Deputy Mayor to help guide our council with integrity, impartiality and a steady hand. I've made it a priority to be consistently present in the chambers, on the ground and with the community, because showing up matters. I am committed to actively representing the Fraser Coast with both passion and purpose in strategic discussions at every level of government, advocating for infrastructure, funding and policy outcomes that directly benefit our region. Supporting the Mayor in high-level engagement with state and federal stakeholders will be a priority, ensuring we continue to drive investment and deliver on the region's key demands. But leadership is nothing without teamwork. I am committed to working collaboratively with each of you to build a stronger Fraser Coast. I'll work to support your goals and amplify your efforts, because when we are aligned, our region wins. And I wish Councillor Daniel Sanderson the best of luck. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, colleagues. Have we started? Yep. Yeah, you're on. You're on. Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, colleagues, I appreciate the opportunity to nominate for the position of Deputy Mayor, and also would like to take a moment to thank my colleague, Councillor Paul Truscott, for holding the position for the past 12 months and for his time he has dedicated to this role. Councillor Truscott, your leadership will be missed, and I believe it's been imprinted in our region's history as an excellent deputy being. Thank you. I believe I can carry this mantle Councillor Truscott has held with dignity, with integrity and honour this responsibility demands and holds. With now over 13 years' experience as a councillor, I've seen our region at its best and at its worst. I've been through many challenges and seen many victories. Nothing worth having ever comes without a fight, and I'm not scared to go into battle when I believe in something I need to stand for or stand by and for others. Being part of different council teams over these years, I believe, demonstrates that I can work in different environments and with different people to achieve positive results for our regional community and its people. I can always provide strong leadership. I'm not scared to get my hands dirty. I will pull up behaviours if they're not warranted and will always operate in integrity. I've worked with our Mayor George Seymour over these years, and I've always had a good working relationship with anyone around this table, in that the people that have sat here before us. I've also worked with staff for many years and have built positive working relationships, and they know who I am as a person and a regional representative to council. I will always represent the people I serve with excellence and with conviction. I live in Maryborough, and I think this is a positive attribute to build regional unity and strength. I understand fully we're regional councillors, and having a leader that comes from this part of the region is a positive for healing the divide when it arises and making sure all views are heard. I also believe I'm ready for this responsibility. I've gone through some very big challenges and come out the other side, and I'm immensely grateful for this. Thank you, Lord. And I believe this has made me stronger as a person in many ways. I've learnt so much over the years and gained a lot of experience which I believe would only help me faithfully, impartially, confidently and courageously fulfil this role with excellence. I'll always put others before myself, and this is something I try to live by daily. Success in life has nothing to do with what you gain or accomplish for yourself, it's what you do for others. If given this opportunity to carry this position for the next year, I'd be humbled and honoured to help lead our team with everyone's input and leadership gifts and capabilities to build an awesome region for everyone. Colleagues, I do hope and pray that my actions over all these years speak louder than words today, and that you know I'm always a person that will always be faithful. I'll do what I'll say I'll do, and if I don't, I'll explain why, and I'll never question my integrity. Trust is also of great value to me. I can be trusted, and trust in any level of leadership or relationship is important, and I believe this is something I can always fulfil well. I won't be swayed by pressure, but will always do what's right. I'm proud and thankful for my time on council to date, to be a part of teams where we've delivered transformational change for our region for the best. If given this opportunity, I won't disappoint you. I'll do all I can to ensure I'm the best possible leader for you and the regional community we can never forget we serve, both now and into the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the councillors who are nominated. I'll hand out very shortly a ballot paper. On that ballot paper, you simply need to write the name of the preferred candidate for the position of Deputy Mayor. We'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Once you've written that name, if you can fold that in half, and then we'll come around with the ballot box, and then we will, Keith Parsons and I will go through the count and inform the Mayor of the outcome. So.
Thank you. The returning officer has advised me that Councillor Farage was the successful candidate. I'll move that standing orders be resumed. All in favour? Thank you. All opposed? That's carried unanimously. Is there a mover for this? No. Oh, yeah. Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Paul Truscott. I assume you're moving that Council appoints Councillor Farage to the position of Deputy Mayor pursuant to Section 1655 of the Local Government Act 2009 and reviews the position of Deputy Mayor at the ordinary meeting to be held in March 2026. Got that correct? Yeah. Is there speakers or questions on this one? Councillor Paul Deputy Mayor Paul Truscott for another minute, or?
I think that's already been declared vacant. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, Sente Vacati.
Yeah. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank my colleagues for the time that I've had this previous year as the Deputy Mayor, and to serve with yourself, Mr Mayor, and to wish Councillor Farage, or Deputy Mayor, Councillor Farage, all of the very best over the course of this next year. And yes, well done to you both for putting your hands up. It takes a lot of courage to do that, and congratulations and all the very best.
Thank you. And I want to thank Councillor Sanderson for nominating. I've been on the council with Councillor Sanderson for 13 years, and you certainly do have all the capabilities and qualities to be Deputy Mayor, and I encourage you to run again next year. I've been Deputy Mayor on a couple of occasions, so I know what's involved, and you certainly would be a very good Deputy Mayor. I want to congratulate Deputy Mayor Councillor Farage, and I'm sure we'll work very well in the coming year. And thank Councillor Paul Truscott. You've been an excellent Deputy Mayor. This is the second occasion you've been Deputy Mayor, and you've done very, very well in every single thing that's been asked of you in stepping forward in many ways that previous Deputy Mayors have not done. So I think you've done more work as Deputy Mayor than most previous Deputy Mayors. So thank you very much for the way you've carried on that role. Councillor Chapman.
Mr Mayor, as I was the previous Deputy Mayor, no, I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Farage for the Deputy Mayor, and condolences to Councillor Sanderson. I put a hand. I was for your courage of putting your hand up for doing the role. I'd like to thank Councillor Truscott as Deputy Mayor, stepping down, for the way that he supported the Mayor, but also supported the other councillors around the room. And I found Councillor Truscott, if I had a problem, I could go to him, and there was someone to have an ear to. But I just would like Councillor Farage, wish you all the best for the coming year, and thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Farage.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to thank the team again for putting your faith in me, and thank Councillor Sanderson for putting his hand up as well. And yeah, hopefully I can fill the big shoes that have been left for me to fill. So thanks, everyone.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Cosgrove.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Chair. I just wanted to congratulate Councillor Farage on her successful election as Deputy Mayor, but also commend Councillor Paul Truscott for his service over my first year on Council. He has been an invaluable support to me at many times, and I feel has definitely kept good order in the meetings that he chairs. So, yeah, thank you, Councillor Truscott, and yeah, good luck to Councillor Farage.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously, and congratulations. Item 11.3.1, proposed establishment of the Community Safety Advisory Committee, pages 284 to 286. Councillor Cosgrove, you're moving this. Is there a seconder? Councillor Govers. Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I look back at this, at the genesis of this report we have in front of us today, at the motion that I guess led to this body of work, and I thank the staff for that work. But I really just see a whole bunch of optimism as well as a whole bunch of naivety writ large in that motion there. As a first-term councillor, you do come in and you want to, change the world, improve the lives of our community and make things better. But then you get here and you realise that, you're up against cost shifting, a really tough budget, and you just realise that you shouldn't play in areas where the state should be stepping up to their responsibilities. So, crime and crime prevention, primarily a state issue. Hooning, primarily a state issue. Homelessness, primarily a state issue. So, forgive my folly, but they are issues as well that the community that we represent really cares about and wants to see action on. This report today, though, does highlight that council does participate in many working groups, action groups. They have staff and directors sometimes at these things that are already taking place in this space, and I commend them on doing that. But I really think that the community want to see these areas improved, but let's let that division of responsibility sit where it should and focus on the primary core business of council and getting that right, and not volunteering for more cost shifting and underfunding by the other levels of government.
Are there any further speakers or questions? Councillor Byrne?
I was going to speak against the motion to propose to form the committee, but Councillor Cosgrove has already pointed out probably all of the reasons why I would not support this motion, primarily because of exactly that. The cost shifting that is going on to our local government these days is way, way too much, and we're already under budgetary pressure. So I would prefer that we advocate as a group or as a local government to the powers to be to change those things, not necessarily take that on ourselves. So I'll be voting against this.
You mean voting for the motion? Yeah. Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Farage?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. When this came to the table quite a few months ago, when we were very new, I did vote against it, and for this very reason, because I understood, that this is in fact the responsibility of the state government, and our job can be to continue to advocate. And I think our staff do a really fantastic job attending all of these agency networks. And I do commend Councillor Cosgrove for fronting up and saying and admitting, because that's the wisdom of hindsight's a really good thing. Thank you for doing that. And I think, the officer's recommendation is good. What we're doing right now is helping the community in such way, and all we can do is continue to advocate for better outcomes. Thank you.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.3.2, options for utilisation of proceeds of the sale of the land at Royal Street, Maryborough, 287-313. Councillor O'Keefe, are you moving the recommendation? Yep. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Govers. Councillor O'Keefe, are you speaking to this?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, I want to thank the staff for all of the work that they've done in compiling this list. I also want to acknowledge the work of the Environmental Advisory Group, which considered the original resolution put by former councillor David Lewis and myself to investigate options on the spending of the proceeds from the Royal Street sale. And I'm very pleased to see that number one on the options is prioritisation options is the Takura Park Reserve, and also note that on World Environment Day, I believe, which is in June, or it might be July, June or July, we will be doing community tree planting out at Takura Reserve. It is a fantastic parcel of land out at Takura that we have. There are opportunities for future generations to engage in things like rewilding. At the moment we have protected that site, but in future generations I would like us to regenerate that entire site. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I just had a question either for yourself, Councillor O'Keefe, as chair, or the director. The priorities, are these the priorities that the committee is standing by? These are the priorities 1 to 6 that the committee agrees with, or are we just saying we consulted with them and they've heard these priorities?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, the committee does stand by them. So they were originally formulated by the previous committee, but we went back to the new committee, which has been constituted by this council, and asked if there was any different or additional feedback, and the feedback was that they stand by the projects that previously.
So what they've listed as priority 1 is what's listed as priority 1 in this is their priority? Yeah, yeah, I'll speak in favour of this. Initially I was opposed to this generally because I was here when the motion, I was against the sale of the Royal Street land because publicly owned, or it was publicly owned, riverside land, which we do not actually have a lot of. You know, if you go up and down the Mary River, there's not many places to access the river. It's privatized. And a lot of the concern about the sale of it was that we'd lose that, and that there was a motion then that we quarantine that money from the sale of that very rare publicly owned riverside land for further publicly owned riverside land, which is way down at option 5. And if not, that, you know, it's about other important environmental land, and that's down at option priority 6. Priority 4 is also very good. But, you know, if we're going to sort of widen the scope of responsibility and the bringing in of expertise, you know, I think we should listen to the Environmental Advisory Committee, and they've listed their priorities almost in inverse order to what my priorities would have been. But, you know, I respect their sort of deliberations, and we have a lot of very, very qualified people on that. We just appointed 2 new people in a very difficult selection. So, yeah, I support this, and I look forward to seeing, you know, priority 1 happen, if we can. Are there any further speakers or questions? Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was a little thrown by the list of priorities, although I do respect the decision of the committee. I would have probably have preferred to see, considering that the land was sold on the Mary River, that money go towards some sort of reuse of the Mary River. I understand that I don't sit on that committee, and I'm sure there's a lot of background as to why that's been chosen, but my preference would have been too to see something done along that riverside restoration.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to mention that this is a list of priorities.
Yeah.
We have much work to do.
Yeah.
Number 1 on the list would be fantastic if we could tick that off, but it is a list of priorities. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I guess my concern is, you know, if we got down to, if we actually just did priority 3, that wouldn't be much of a swap for so much public land being lost. So perhaps the director can talk a bit about this.
The microphone on again. There's further work to do. So essentially today we're seeking council's, you know, acknowledgement or agreement to these 6 priorities all being priorities. We'll then do further work on costing and a whole range of things. Yeah. And ideally with this money, we would be able to address multiples of the priorities. Mm-hmm. But that's not the only funding that we have available. Our new sustainability team has a major concept forum planned with councillors, I think on the 14th of May, where we'll be you know, consulting you about the broader sustainability, climate and natural environment agenda. And it is my hope that in coming years we can address all 6 of these priorities, as well as many more.
Thank you. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried 10-1. Item 11.3.3, Reef Guardianship Council Membership, pages 314 to 342. Councillor O'Keefe, you're moving this. Seconded, Councillor Wheeland. Do you wish to speak to this, Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just having difficulties with my laptop at the moment. Just bear with me. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to recommend the officer's recommendation that 1, council resolve to become a member of the Reef Guardian Council program, and 2, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to undertake the necessary steps to secure membership.
Yep.
Can I speak to
yes.
the proposal? Yep. Mr. Mayor, the joining of our council to the Reef Guardian Council fits with council's commitment to be a resilient and environmentally responsible region. We're proud to be doing our part to help protect one of the world's most iconic natural wonders, with the Great Sandy Straits being the gateway to the Great Barrier Reef. Becoming a Reef Guardian Council recognises the work we are already doing in this space, from reducing waste and improving water quality to restoring important coastal areas, and it also puts us in a better position to apply for future environmental funding. Fraser Coast Draft Reef Action Plan features a wide range of local projects that align with the goals of the Reef Guardian program. This includes upgrades to the Polgold Creek wastewater treatment plant, restoring shellfish reefs at Burrell, community tree planting days, riverbank stabilisation and sediment control programs, and building a new materials facility to recycle more and divert more waste from landfill. The program also promotes partnerships and education, and we know that we work better when we work together. Whether that's working with schools, traditional owners, local tourism operators, or conservation groups, building better communities together is how we make the biggest difference.
Thank you. Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question to the Director, Community Strategy and Development. Director, on balance, would you say that the potential upside of joining this council, the Reef Guardian Council, potentially far outweighs the resource implications in terms of staff time?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cosgrove, for the question. It's a great question, and it's one I actually thought about deeply, and I wasn't, initially 100% sold on this being necessarily the best way forward. But having spent significant time, having engaged with groups like our Environment and Sustainability Committee, and having now established our new sustainability team, I do believe that this is a really positive initiative where there will be significant opportunities, as Councillor O'Keefe has already said, to capitalise on the work we're already doing and already funded, and potentially bring in some more resources for us to be able to expand that work in a low-cost way.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I could speak briefly to the motion. I'll be supporting the motion simply because I do think that on balance the potential upside will be greater than the commitment to actually take part. To be frank, we can't actually predict what the potential upside could be, but the fact is that the federal government at any time could decide to throw a big pot of money at this specific membership group. And so if we miss that train, we may actually, miss out on an opportunity. And for that primary reason, I'm supporting this motion.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Truscott.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. One question I was wondering about was, would this help specifically towards anything to do with the coastal erosion issues? If there'd be any sort of assistance potentially through that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Truscott. Definitely yes. So in there have been previous rounds of funding only available to councils who are members of this, and things like bank stabilisation, particularly they tend to focus on runoff and trying to stop runoff, which is really important for bank stabilisation. So there could be some real opportunities for us, to advance our coastal hazards work in this space.
Councillor Truscott.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll state that I will speak in favour of it then. I initially was opposed to this concept when I first heard of it, because when I hear of the Great Barrier Reef, never ever do I think of our region. I only think of sort of north from here. But if there is the potential for funding to be accessed that might help stuff in our region, like coastal erosion and bank erosion, and that I will be supportive of it for that reason.
Okay. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.4.1, consideration for the reduction of parking concerns in Endeavour Way, Eli Waters. Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'd like to move an alternate motion to the officer's recommendation, and councillors will have to forgive me, but I'm actually going to essentially create a hybrid between my alternate and the officer's recommendation. So I've had an epiphany sitting here. So it will read, if we start in the red section, that council will refer the report back to the CEO to 1, include indicative costings for the installation of traffic control regulated parking signs, 2, allow the divisional councillor to undertake further engagement with residents, and then 3 will be consider additional patrols of the area to ensure vehicles are parking appropriately, and 4, continue to liaise with Xavier Catholic College to encourage the use of provided spaces within the school facility. So essentially, it's my 2 as listed there, and points 3 and 4 are points 2 and 3 as per the officer's recommendation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Very good. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Byrne, do you wish to speak to this?
I will briefly. Essentially, we get these reports with a relatively short lead time, and I think if I am thinking about, potentially pushing forward on regulated parking in the area, I need to have a very clear view of whether that would be supported by every possible resident impacted of that. So it's my intent to go away and actually run a survey of all possible, of multiple different options, but all possible affected residents in the area, because if we regulated just Endeavour Way, for example, that's going to have an impact on Lady Nelson and a bunch of other streets that may or may not particularly feel a strong impact from the parking activities and school activities on Endeavour Way behind the college. So I feel like it's necessary to do a little bit more legwork. I'm willing to do that legwork myself, and essentially this is a pause to allow me to do that.
And so that clause, where it literally says, allow the divisional councillor, which is you, to undertake further engagement with residents. How much time do you think that would be?
I did ask whether I needed to specify a meeting for which this was to come back to, but to the CEO, I don't think I asked the CEO that question. He said it wasn't necessary to specify a meeting. I'll just work in conjunction with him, I believe.
So we'll see it when we see it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. So I think the most important thing is to allow sufficient time for Councillor Cosgrove to undertake that engagement with community. My expectation is that once he's undertaken that engagement, and he might take 1 month or 2 months, the production of the report will be very, very quick after that. Yep. So I don't see it as a critical path issue.
Councillor Truscott?
Yes, I was just going to ask Councillor Cosgrove, how are you going to do that survey?
Haven't decided on. Thanks, Councillor Truscott, for your question. Haven't decided on specific methodology and the actual questions, but I'm going to make sure that it's pretty rigorous. I'll have I think I will run it as an online survey, but also will give everyone the opportunity, if they need to do a paper survey as well, so I can get. I'm hoping there's around about 200 residents, residences, so properties, that I think could potentially be impacted by the widest amount of change in terms of a regulatory option. So I would want them to all be having a say. If they can't do an online survey, I would endeavour to get them a physical copy so that everyone's represented.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to make note, I'll be supporting this proposal, and noting that we have a regulated parking workshop, which I believe will occur early in the next financial year, where I'm sure we'll be discussing this initiative further. And I want to acknowledge and thank my colleague for taking the initiative to do some legwork, literally, in determining a policy on regulated parking.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Chapman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to ask the Director a question. Excuse me. Since the school's been there, how many reports and that have we actually looked at? It's probably a hard figure for you to answer just off the cuff, but how much work has actually gone in, just to let the public know about parking around this school?
Thanks for the question, Councillor, through you, Mr Mayor. We have done a number of engagement with the school over the years. I don't have the number of reports that we have done about this, but there has been several engagements and report to council on this matter. So like the report points out, that we will continue to do that engagement with the school to see if they relook at or review their parking arrangements within the school facility. So that body of work will continue doing that. But yeah, to answer your question, we have had a number of engagements with the school. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Chapman?
Mr Mayor, I'll actually speak for this motion that we let Councillor Cosgrove go out and meet his community and have a talk to his community. But I'd just like to point out to the public and to other councillors, schools are they're an area, they've got a lot of traffic around them from 8 o'clock through till 9 o'clock in the mornings, and mainly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a lot of congestion. And this school's been there for a long time. This problem's been there for a long time. And it's a hard problem for a council to be throwing resources at such a thing when a school has got so many students going to it. We wait to see what the reply is. I just hope it, when people are making their decision, it doesn't turn into an angst against the school, because people have got to get transport to these facilities, and I just wait to see what the outcome is. But I will be supporting it. But I'd just like to say that schools across the whole Fraser Coast and across everywhere are a big angst on traffic, on congestion around those times of the day. And when people are buying a dwelling, they've got to look at where they're actually buying. Thank you.
Councillor Farage?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Further to some of the comments made by my colleagues, about 6 or so years ago, I was still a student at that school, and that problem has existed for that long, and probably longer before me. So yeah, it's really hard for us as a council to keep sending our officers back to do this work, but I have full faith in my colleague Councillor Cosgrove, and hopefully his consultation can reap good benefits and finally bring this to a conclusion, because it is a really hard level of where does the school's responsibility end and where does council's responsibility start, and I think that's what we're really struggling with at the moment. So I will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Truscott?
So I was just wondering if we could, we're voting on the amended,
Yeah.
if we could put it up on the screen now, if that's at all possible. I think I've got it, but just to make sure.
It's not the amended, it's a merging of the amended
Yes, I
and the
know, but
recommendation. Yeah. The
Cut
alternate.
and paste, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. She's on the ball.
Yes, yeah, well done. All right, any further speakers or questions? Councillor Byrne?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be voting to support Councillor Cosgrove's work on this, but I know myself as a parent, when my kids were at school, that it was also a little bit of onus on the parents to do some work in this area as well, is to stagger their time to pick up their children if they don't require being picked up at the front and all that. So I'm fully trusting that Councillor Cosgrove will come out with some very, very interesting responses to his work, but also keep in mind that council's not necessarily in the business of providing parking for schools, but we're not in the business of providing parking for schools as well. So I'll be supporting Councillor Cosgrove and wishing him the best of luck in his endeavours.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously, and good luck.
Mr Mayor, before we move on, under the new standing orders, section 21.10 requires me to record a statement of reasons where the decision of council is inconsistent with the officer's recommendation. Whilst it's not wildly inconsistent, there are some levels of inconsistency. So the reason that I'll be recording as a statement of reasons is that the provision of additional costing and other information and engagement with residents will enable councillors to make a more informed decision on the matter.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Item 11.4.2, establishment of temporary beach volleyball courts at Pialba Foreshore. Councillor O'Keefe? No, you don't have an alternate motion? Is there? No? Is there? Oh, Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll read out the alternate motion put by myself. Number 1, approve the construction of temporary beach volleyball courts for social and public use adjacent to the All Abilities car park, as indicated in attachment 1. And 2, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to consult with local volleyball groups and enter into agreements or issue permits for the use of volleyball courts.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Cosgrove, do you wish to speak to this? Councillor O'Keefe?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any speakers or questions? Councillor Cosgrove?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question to the relevant director. Not sure if I'm getting bogged down in the what, but when these go in, do we envisage any need for some type of netting or protection from balls going on the road? Is that envisaged to be a problem?
Oh, let the director.
Thanks for the question, Councillor. If you look at the, through you, Mr Mayor, if you look at the attachment to the report on page 355, you'll see how the courts are orientated. So it's east-west orientation, and there's still a buffer from where the court is located to the road. Yeah, so, look, there is a, slight chance the ball might go in that direction, but because looking at the direction of the orientation of the courts, it's less risk of that happening based on the layout.
So as long as I don't have too many games there, we should be okay for the most part. I will speak to this motion if that's okay. Just to say, thank you to the staff and to the Volleyball Association that is making this happen, and working together to see what I think will be a great addition to the offering on the Esplanade. This is a temporary facility, and obviously we are looking at options to move to a permanent facility down the track at the sports precinct. But in the end, we are a beach city in Hervey Bay. How good would it be to have beach volleyball, particularly if you could just pitch up as a member of the public and have a game, as well as more organised competitions and the like. So yeah, great stuff. Happy to see this happen.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. There's been a great need for this. There's a couple of groups out there that want to play beach volleyball, professional group and a social group. They've been on to us for several years now to try and look at a facility. And I had a look at down at Southport, where they've got actually beach volleyball on the beach, which is, there's people down there that are just going out enjoying themselves. But there's also the onlookers, and I think that's what's been highlighted here, is these people that are going out and enjoying their sport and socialising with the interaction. That's what we've got to be looking at in this community, is how young people can socialise in a healthy environment. And I think there's a lot of people going out watching them and just seeing the enjoyment in it. You never know, down the track we may even see foot volleyball, which was going on at Southport. Was absolutely incredible, where they don't use their hands, they use their feet to keep the ball backwards and forwards. So I think anything to help our sport, help our community out there, I will be supporting. Thank you.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Mr Mayor, in accordance with Standing Order Section 21.10, I'm required to record a statement where the decision of council is inconsistent with the officer's recommendation. Whilst it's not wildly inconsistent, I think it requires a statement of reasons. The reason that I'm going to record is to ensure that all local volleyball groups are able to be provided access to the volleyball courts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Item 11.5.1, Water and Waste Services Advisory Committee Meeting Member Appointment, 356 to 383. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Byrne. Seconded, Councillor Chapman. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 12.1, this matter has been withdrawn from the mover and will be raised in general business. That's correct? Yeah. General business. Councillor Truscott.
quick. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to move that Council introduce a new item of business relating to the amendment of the meeting procedures and standing orders for council meetings and standing committees.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Cosgrove. Do we debate this or just vote on it? Yep. Okay. Do you wish to speak to this?
No.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not sure what order you'd like to do this in, but I would like to flag a friendly amendment or seek a friendly amendment on this one.
Okay, that'll have to come after this move. So right now, we're just moving about whether we can talk about something.
Yeah.
So if you, unless you want to change that, well, you can't really change that, yeah. So it'll come, if this passes, and then we consider a motion, you'd have to do it then. Any speakers or questions? This is to, all right, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. We are now able to discuss an amendment of the meeting procedures.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Should I read the
Yep.
motion?
Has it been distributed?
It has been
Yeah,
distributed.
I do not
yes.
need to read it.
Okay.
I just speak to it.
All right, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just moving a motion about a change to the standing orders and meeting procedures. Firstly, it'll allocate a bit more time for the CEO on the clock because inadvertently some years ago it was changed that councillors had the ability to speak from 5 minutes down to 3 minutes. However, that has not been the case that we've actually followed
it's
that
not
in
practice,
all that time. It has not been practiced. So this amends that, but also seeking to amend the time in which a motion may be put forward by a councillor. I see this as one of the only powers that councillors actually have, is the ability to put in motions, and sometimes you need the ability to do that closer to the meeting time. However, I understand the intent of wanting to let all councillors know and have as much time as possible to be aware of anything want to be brought forward. So I'm suggesting an amendment from 8 business days to 3 business days, which would bring it to the Friday of the week before the council meeting for the written notice of it, but ideally asking councillors that they advise other councillors when they are intending to put forward a motion so that they have as much notice as possible so that we can discuss items at the agenda forum. And then, yes, lastly is for those amendments to take place upon effect should it be approved.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Councillor Cosgrove?
I don't think you have a seconder, Mr.
Oh,
Chair, but I will second the motion.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to say that, when we made the amendment from, I think, 2 to 8, I was obviously on the side of 8, and Councillor Truscott was on the other side, and we have worked together to essentially find a happy medium that I think ultimately addresses everyone's needs and desires, which is most, particularly a lot of the newer councillors, feel that we really want the option of interrogating things at the agenda forum wherever possible. As a hard and fast rule, you could still put in notice after that to have something on the agenda with the 3 days, but you'd probably have to justify to your colleagues why that was necessary, and they would probably, even though the language is councillor should give notice of their intention to raise a motion at or before the agenda forum, and should is obviously looser language. It sets an expectation that as much as possible we should be allowing colleagues to interrogate things that we want to raise with directors and staff as much as possible. So I think it reaches a happy medium of what we were both sort of wanting to happen. So I thank Councillor Truscott for that. And lastly, what a great change, as I would say probably the most verbose councillor on this council, like my predecessor. 3 to 5 minutes, that's fantastic. But no, in all seriousness, there are issues where it is necessary to give the weight of the issue its respect that a councillor should be speaking for 5 minutes, and I think that's quite a reasonable expectation. So yeah, I commend these changes to colleagues and thank Councillor Truscott for working in tandem with myself on getting to this happy medium.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I just want to flag a friendly amendment, or offer a friendly amendment to Part B, and it really is just around wordsmithing, where it says insert the following text as part of clause 14.1. Additionally, a councillor should give notice. I just think it would be better if it was must give notice. I think it's really important that councillors are given a flag of possible policy change at the earliest time. And I just think, in accordance with good governance and standing order and meeting procedures, I think maybe if we could change that word to must, and then I would be happily support it.
Should I respond, Mr Mayor?
If you wish to, we'll get a bit more advice. I mean, so can I just get, so it would be change should to must? Yes. So it'd say, additionally, a councillor must give notice to council of their intention to raise a motion and detail of its nature at or before the agenda forum, which is 8 days, whether verbally or in writing, so as to allow for questioning or requests for further information to be made at that meeting. So A would say 3. Well, you got the section. We're amending A to say 3 business days, but then in B, yeah.
All I'm seeking is that we wordsmith Part B and change should to must.
But then, what flow-on effect would that have to A?
Mr Mayor, I think that would actually negate A, because what it would mean is that council would be unable to move a motion unless they gave notice of their intention at or before the agenda forum meeting. So it would take away the ability for councillors to move any motions unless they raised it at or before the agenda forum meeting.
You couldn't effectively change that in Part B without changing Part A to 5 business days. I appreciate what Councillor O'Keefe is raising, but I think, it would effectively completely...
It'd nullify it all.
Yeah, nullify it. So I think having it as should, I think everyone's intention should be must, but I think to force it on it would change the whole thing anyway. And I think where we've seen instances where councillors have raised issues that they're going to raise something in an agenda forum to bring up at the meeting, or there's been instances where I think Councillor Cosgrove raised one and said he will be putting it forward, and we discussed it at the agenda forum. I think that's a great way to balance it out. There wasn't a requirement to do that, but I think we should be doing that. And I think if we said it was a requirement, it would make this amendment unnecessary. So I don't, with respect, I couldn't accept the amendment.
Yeah. Councillor Cosgrove?
By way of context, if it helps the chamber, Mr Chair, we did discuss that language and basically decided that if you put must, you've essentially created 2 deadlines rather than just having a single deadline. So essentially, there's a deadline of 3 business days, which is the hard and fast rule, and then there's language that essentially is a recommendation to councillors to pay their colleagues the due respect, wherever possible, of giving notice of their intention to move a motion and what the nature of that motion is.
Do you wish to move an amendment? I don't have to rule on whether it's valid. It might be valid, even though we'll be creating something which might not work.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for considering my friendly amendment. I was originally against this proposal. I will support this proposal, knowing that all councillors have the ability to request that motions lie on the table if they are seeking further information, and for that reason I will support the motion put by Paul Truscott.
Thank you. Any further speakers or questions? Thank you. I'm supportive of this. I think the standing orders should free councillors as much as possible to raise issues important to the community and to bring matters up for debate. The standing orders have moved around a lot over the years, and it's encompassed other things. I said earlier how we could consider our processes in terms of agenda forms. We brought in the agenda forms last council, and that took away, very rightly I think, the way we used to discuss the agenda on the Mondays, a few days before the Wednesday meeting. To the whole week before, and that has created this issue with the 3 business days to the 8 business days and 2 business days. But I'm certainly supportive of every aspect of this. Bringing forward the number of days within which you have to have an item on the agenda. B is about being a good colleague, telling people as soon as you're aware of the issue that you're going to raise it. And C, people should have up to 5 minutes to speak. Councillor Cosgrove.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a question to the CEO or other director. In practice, if this change is made, the deadline for a motion will be close of business Friday. Is that right, before the Wednesday meeting?
I would expect it to be 10 a.m. the date, 10 a.m. on Friday.
Yeah, 3 business days. Yeah. Okay. Any further speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. And because of Clause C, it takes effect immediately, so people can now talk for 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes on all remaining items. Is there any further general business? Item 16.1.1, the Audit and Risk Committee remuneration, pages 446 to 448 on the supplementary agenda. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Whelan. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 16.1.2, the Organisational Performance Report, pages 449 to 466. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Phil Truscott, seconded Councillor Govers. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 15, I'll move that Council move into closed session pursuant to Section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 for discussion of the following items for the reasons: 1, in accordance with Section 254J3G, it is necessary to close the meeting to discuss ordinary item 15.1, application for ministerial exemption under Section 2361F, Local Government Regulation 2012, Lot 1, RP 205010, as it relates to negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. 2, in accordance with Section 254J3G, it is necessary to close the meeting to discuss ordinary item 15.2, contract the Council and HBC Build Australia Propriety Limited, 7 to 19 Hilliard Street, Pyalba, as it relates to negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. And 3, in accordance with Section 254J3G, it is necessary to close the meeting to discuss ordinary item 16.2.1, Damon Spit Sand Sourcing Investigations Project, as it relates to negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Farage. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? It's carried unanimously. whilst in confidential, we discussed items 15.1, 15.2, and 16.2.1, which is item 15.2 on the agenda. I'll move that we resume the meeting in open council. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Farage, all in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Go to item 15.1, the application for ministerial exemption. This is moved Councillor Farage, seconded Councillor Govers. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 15.2, contract for the Council and HBC Build Propriety Limited at 7 to 19 Hilliard Street, Pialba. This is moved Councillor Chapman, seconded Councillor Phil Truscott. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried 9-2. Item 16.2.1 and also the Damon Spit Sand Sourcing Investigations Project. This is moved Councillor O'Keefe, seconded Councillor Govers. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. There'll be no further business on the agenda. I will close the meeting at 11:28. Thank you, everyone.